Imagine walking through the heart of London only to find it engulfed in flames, a disaster so vast it reshapes the future of a city. This isn't a scene from a movie but a real event from history. The Great Fire of London in 1666. But what makes a city of stone and ambition vulnerable to such a catastrophe? And how did a single spark become a conflagration that would leave its mark on history? By the 1660s, London was not just the heart of England. It was a bustling metropolis, the largest city in Britain and among the largest in the Western world. With a population estimated between 300,000 to 400,000, its significance stemmed not only from its size, but from its status as the capital city and the home of government. Yet for all its grandeur, London was a city teetering on the brink of disaster. Its expansion beyond the original Roman city walls had been haphazard, creating a tangled web of wooden buildings and narrow, winding streets. This organic sprawl made the city difficult to navigate, and more crucially, highly susceptible to fire. Moreover, London's architecture was a product of its time. Buildings were predominantly timber-framed, their upper stories jutting out over the streets below, creating narrow alleyways that were dark, congested, and perilously flammable. Despite laws against the use of wood and thatch for roofing, these materials remained common, adding to the city's vulnerability. The city had already faced several major fires, but none had prepared its inhabitants for what was to come in 1666. This combination of architectural practices and urban planning, or the lack thereof, set the stage for a disaster that would forever change the face of London. On the fateful night of September 2nd, 1666, a seemingly innocuous incident in Thomas Farriner's bakery on Pudding Lane set off a chain of events that would lead to an unparalleled disaster. Despite Farriner's claims of extinguishing his ovens before bedtime, a spark managed to ignite, quickly consuming the bakery and spreading to neighboring buildings. This was not an uncommon occurrence in a city where fires were frequent, but the conditions were primed for calamity. A long, dry summer had parched the wooden buildings, making them ready tinder for the flames. As the fire spread, the city's narrow streets and closely packed houses acted as conduits for the devastation, allowing the fire to leap from building to building with terrifying speed. The firefighting methods of the time, reliant on bucket chains, water squirts, and fire hooks for pulling down buildings to create fire breaks, were woefully inadequate against the inferno. The lack of organized firefighting forces meant that efforts were disjointed and often counterproductive, with panicked citizens inadvertently spreading the fire further in their attempts to save their possessions. The escalation of the fire was met with desperation and chaos. With the flames devouring the city's heart, officials struggled to coordinate an effective response. The Lord Mayor's infamous indecision in the fire's early hours lost precious time, allowing the fire to gain an insurmountable hold. It was a desperate fight against an unrelenting enemy, with the city's residents fleeing their homes, carrying whatever belongings they could salvage, while the skyline was lit by the blaze that seemed to consume everything in its path. The fire's rapid spread was facilitated by the strong winds from the east, which carried the flames across the city with alarming speed. This natural force rendered human efforts almost futile, as the fire engulfed iconic landmarks and thousands of homes. The very elements that had made London a thriving commercial hub, its dense population, wooden buildings, and congested streets, now amplified its vulnerability to disaster, showcasing the dire consequences of inadequate urban planning and preparedness for emergencies. As the city burned, it became clear that the recovery from such a catastrophic event would require more than just rebuilding structures. It would necessitate a rethinking of the very fabric of urban life in London. In the face of the Great Fire, leadership emerged from both expected and unexpected quarters. King Charles II and his brother, James, Duke of York, took proactive roles in the firefighting efforts, a move that marked a stark contrast to the city officials' initial paralysis. Charles II's leadership extended beyond the immediate response. He personally involved himself in the efforts to control the blaze, directing firefighting operations and even participating in the demolition of houses to create fire breaks. This royal intervention underscored the gravity of the situation and the need for decisive action at the highest levels of a governance. However, the fire also highlighted tensions between the monarchy and the city's administration. The reluctance of city officials to accept the king's help initially stemmed from a deep-seated mistrust, a legacy of the English Civil War, and the fraught relationship between the crown and the city. The disaster thus served as a backdrop for the complex interplay of political dynamics and social responsibilities, revealing the critical role of leadership in times of crisis. Following the fire, London faced a monumental task: the reconstruction of a devastated city. The aftermath was a landscape of ashes, with an estimated 13,200 houses, 87 parish churches including St. Paul's Cathedral, and numerous other buildings reduced to ruins. The economic toll was staggering, and the displacement of tens of thousands of Londoners created a humanitarian crisis. The reconstruction of London was an opportunity not just to rebuild, but to reimagine the city. Despite proposals for radical redesigns, London was largely rebuilt on its existing street plan. This decision was influenced by practical considerations, including property rights and the urgent need for housing. However, changes were made to ensure a safer, more resilient urban environment. The Rebuilding Act of 1667 imposed regulations on construction materials and methods, mandating the use of brick and stone instead of timber, widening streets and establishing a more organized urban layout. Architects like Christopher Wren played a pivotal role in this process, contributing to the design of a new cityscape that included modern fire-resistant buildings and iconic structures such as the new St. Paul's Cathedral. This period of reconstruction was not merely about restoring what was lost, but about setting a new vision for London's future, one that balanced the preservation of its historic character with the need for modernization and safety. The Great Fire of London thus marked a turning point in urban development, highlighting the importance of effective leadership and the impact of architectural and urban planning on the resilience of cities. The legacy of the fire extends beyond the physical rebuilding of London. It represents a moment of transformation that shaped the city's identity and its approach to disaster preparedness and urban design for generations to come. Beyond the well-documented devastation and recovery, the Great Fire of London harbors lesser-known facts that make the story that much more interesting. One intriguing aspect is the relatively low official death toll, which is reported to be very small. This figure has been a topic of much debate among historians, considering the fire's magnitude. It's suggested that the chaotic nature of the disaster and the lack of comprehensive records at the time may have led to many deaths going unrecorded, particularly among the poorer citizens. Another interesting fact is the fire's impact on London's pest population. The year before the fire, 1665, had seen a devastating outbreak of the bubonic plague, which killed an estimated 100,000 people, nearly a quarter of London's population. The fire is thought to have helped cleanse the city of the remaining disease-carrying rats and fleas, contributing to a significant decrease in plague cases in the years following the fire. The fire also prompted the creation of London's first organized firefighting service. Before the fire, firefighting efforts were largely ad hoc, relying on local communities to combat flames. The disaster's scale highlighted the need for a more structured approach, leading to the establishment of the Insurance Office for Houses in 1681, which employed its own fire brigade to protect insured properties, a precursor to modern fire services. Turning to modern times, the echoes of the Great Fire are still evident in London's landscape and its policies. The city's stringent building codes and the development of its professional fire brigade can be traced back to the lessons learned from the fire. Additionally, the monument to the Great Fire of London, designed by Sir Christopher Wren and Dr. Robert Hooke, stands as a lasting memorial. This 202-foot tall column near Pudding Lane, where the fire began, not only commemorates the calamity but also celebrates the city's resilience and rebirth. It serves as a physical reminder of the fire's impact and the indomitable spirit of Londoners. Moreover, the fire's legacy is woven into the fabric of London's identity, influencing its architecture, urban planning, and emergency preparedness. The rebuilt St. Paul's Cathedral and the many Wren churches are daily reminders of the city's capacity for renewal and transformation. London today, with its blend of historical and modern buildings, embodies the resilience and adaptability that emerged from the fire's ashes, a testament to the city's ability to rise, rebuild, and thrive in the face of adversity. The Great Fire of London, a disaster that reshaped a metropolis, offers us a narrative filled with lessons on resilience, innovation, and the indomitable human spirit. As we reflect on the fire's legacy, from the ashes of destruction rose a city reborn, forever altering the landscape of urban development and emergency response. It prompts us to consider the ways in which we prepare for, respond to, and rebuild from the calamities we face today. How do you think modern cities can learn from the lessons of the Great Fire of London? Share your thoughts in the comments below and have a lovely day.